Last week, I was invited by Nintendo UK to play Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. My playtime began at the same point as the recent PAX West demo, with a set save point after Zelda has met Tri in the dungeons of Hyrule Castle, but I was allowed to play for 80 minutes, up to the end of the game's first dungeon, Suthorn Ruins. This allowed me to use 3 of Zelda's new abilities: Echo, Bind, and the recently revealed Sword Fighter form. Spoiler warning, the demo I played was the opening section of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, including the first dungeon and boss. There isn't much in this video that hasn't already been revealed in trailers, but I will be detailing my experience playing the beginning of the game. So if you'd rather play Echoes of Wisdom completely blind, I'd advise turning off the video now. Zelda has been imprisoned, wrongfully blamed for causing the rifts that have recently opened up across Hyrule. This is by orders of the king, but it seems that he's not acting like himself. So Zelda must escape her own castle, doing so with the help of the fairy Tri. Right at the beginning, Zelda learns the Echo ability. There's a small table in her cell that she can learn to make copies of, allowing her to hop over a wall to escape. There's then a stealth section escaping the dungeons, learning and using echoes to avoid detection, which includes meeting Impa, Zelda's nursemaid and one of the Sheikah tribe, who gives Zelda a disguise, including Link's hood that Zelda kept in her pocket, and a log, a book which records our progress in quests, as well as features a map, pointing us to a house in the south where we'll find help. The log shows us that, at this point, our only active quest is the Mysterious Rifts. Apparently, imposter versions of the king, general, and minister came from the rift and have imprisoned Zelda. It was already clear from the trailers and the PAX West demo footage, but it's worth noting anyway, Zelda can move freely in all directions, rather than the fixed 8 directions Link can move in the Link's Awakening remake. This isn't a surprising change, but it's definitely a welcome one. The Echo ability is very simple. Objects Zelda can learn are indicated by golden triangles surrounding them. She can just walk up and press ZR to learn the Echo. Learned Echoes can be chosen from a slider menu, accessed by holding right on the D-pad, or from a notebook screen, which displays all currently learned Echoes in a grid, where Zelda can select or read descriptions. Selected echoes are assigned to the Y button. Pressing it will cause Zelda to summon the currently equipped echo in front of her character. She can despawn echoes by facing one and pressing ZR, or by holding ZR to despawn all current echoes. Different echoes have different costs, marked by the number of triangle symbols above their icon. At the start of the game, Tri is followed by 3 small triangles, giving Zelda an echo limit of 3 units, but we've seen clips in trailers of her having more, so this limit can almost certainly be increased. Simple echoes like rocks or pots cost 1 triangle, but more advanced echoes, like most enemies, cost more. But other than the triangle costs, there's no limit on echoes. You can spawn them as frequently as you like, only that placing an echo above your limit will cause the earliest echo you spawned to disappear to make room. Echoes of Wisdom also gives Zelda the ability to jump by pressing B, or spin by pressing R. The spin can't damage enemies or most objects, but it will cut the grass. Also, while we're on the settings menu, I'll cover the difficulty options. As expected, the game features both normal and hero modes. Hero mode being the same, except that Zelda takes twice the damage and won't get recovery hearts from the usual places like grass, pots, or enemies. After escaping the castle, Zelda finds herself on Suthorn Beach, where she can learn more echoes and fight her first basic monsters with them. Early combat in Echoes of Wisdom feels very... I think clunky is the wrong word, but it feels strange, and deliberately so. Zelda can only fight by spawning enemy echoes to fight for her, or by picking up objects from her environment, or spawning echoes of them, and throwing them at enemies. This would be very tedious in a normal top-down Zelda game, but Echoes of Wisdom has introduced an L targeting system like the 3D games, making it much easier to aim projectiles. Targeting is how you control your summoned echoes too. L targeting an enemy will have your army of minions attack them. With only basic objects as your echoes, you need to take a more reactive role in combat situations than you normally would in a top-down Zelda game, but that won't be the case forever. While we're talking about camera targeting, Echoes of Wisdom allows you to move the camera view slightly with the right control stick, allowing you to spot things that are off screen or get a different perspective to peek around corners. I didn't encounter many instances where this was useful, but it's still a pretty cool touch. Suthorn Beach is designed to teach Zelda how to use echoes to traverse the environment, and has a few hard to reach areas that force you to experiment with these basic echoes, rewarding Zelda with rupees or even heart pieces, which function as they do in most other Zelda games, where collecting 4 will grant Zelda a new heart container. Following Impa's map leads us to Suthorn Village, an adorable little settlement. There are a few secret areas around, like the bottom of the well or a nearby cave, a shop where you can buy another heart piece, and multiple NPCs, all very distressed about the recently opened rifts. One man has had his wife taken by the Void, an event we saw happen in the very first trailer for the game. Suthorn Village is also revealed to be Link's hometown. Villagers say that they wish he was here, and note that Zelda's cloak is similar to Link's. Zelda doesn't seem to know who Link is, meaning Echoes of Wisdom doesn't take place directly after another Zelda game. We can even find Link's house. It's the northwestern one, complete with a wooden owl statue by the chest of drawers and a spare green hat hanging from the bedpost. This also means that we can get revenge for every Hyrulean citizen in history and break Link's pots. Leaving Suthorn Village, we discover a waypoint, one of many strange statues that are found all across Hyrule. They're dormant when Zelda first encounters them, but Tri is able to activate them, allowing the princess to quickly warp around the map. Our goal is still to find our way to the house on Impa's map, a journey that involves battling through open groves and dark caves, learning numerous useful echoes as we go, like the Ignizol, a version of the Zol shaped like a candle which will set anything it touches aflame. I also discovered an empty bottle, though it's not called an empty bottle in Echoes of Wisdom. It's a fairy bottle, specifically designed to carry fairies. When I found a fairy dancing above this pool of water, it was instantly placed in the bottle as soon as I touched it, which makes me think that the bottles Zelda uses to hold her smoothies, bought from business scrubs, will be different. I grabbed my 4th heart piece in a cave in Suthorn Forest, giving me a new heart container. Echoes of Wisdom obviously wears its Breath of the Wild inspiration on its sleeve, and even features monster camps. Just like in the 3D Switch games, defeating all enemies in the camp will unlock the chest, this time rewarding Zelda with a bunch of grapes. I actually found multiple similar items throughout my playthrough. Ingredients which can be used to recover hearts, but not very effectively. These are meant to be smoothie ingredients, but I didn't encounter a business scrub to make me any. Unfortunately, the house Impa told us to visit has been partially swallowed by a rift. Tri cryptically mentions that her friends usually fix rifts quickly, and that they must be inside, giving us our next destination. I also found a cave with a pretty tough P-Hat enemy, which cut most of my echoes into ribbons. However, Echoes of Wisdom does feature an element system like Breath of the Wild, and being a plant, the P-Hat is vulnerable to fire, so I could make short work of it with my Ignizol Echo, rewarding me with a pretty powerful enemy echo to fight alongside me. But with a P-Hat in my pocket, it was time to leave Hyrule behind and enter the Still World. The Still World was revealed in the recent trailer, and it's essentially Echoes of Wisdom's take on Zelda's classic two-world mechanic. some sort of blend between the Dark World from A Link to the Past and the Distortion World from Pokemon Platinum. The Still World is where everything the Rifts take from the Overworld ends up. This section is made up of pieces of the Suthorn Forest, and so is called Stilled Suthorn Forest. We've seen other stilled areas in the most recent trailer. It seems likely that each major area in the Overworld will have one or more stilled areas. Try's friends are somewhere in here, as are the NPCs who were taken from the Suthorn area. People within are petrified, but not Zelda. She's special. Stilled areas are filled with dark, gooey imitations of normal enemies, and require a lot of platforming to traverse the broken terrain. Inside Stilled Suthorn Forest, we find Echoes of Wisdom's first dungeon, Suthorn Ruins. This is the same dungeon Zelda was imprisoned in at the very start of the game, seen in the reveal trailer, where Link was taken by a rift. It's also the location of Try's friends. Suthorn Ruins begins by teaching Zelda her second ability, Bind, where Zelda can make an object follow her own movements. Much of the dungeon is designed around showing off its uses, as well as the use of Reverse Bond, which does the opposite, and binds Zelda's movements to that of something else. It's a very solid beginner dungeon, much larger and more difficult than something like Tail Cave from Link's Awakening. And it's worth noting that it is a real dungeon. There were no terminals like the 3D Switch Zeldas, and the boss is locked behind a boss key as usual. There is, however, a lot of freedom in puzzle solving using Zelda's powerful new abilities. I'm sure the ways I solved the dungeon's puzzles aren't the only ways it can be done. I might regret saying this once the game releases, but Zelda's abilities don't feel as powerful or potentially game-breaking as Link's do in Tears of the Kingdom. I know that I definitely didn't utilize them to their full potential, and that this is only the very beginning of the game, but as of right now, it doesn't seem to me that Echoes of Wisdom will suffer from giving the player too many options to solve puzzles in the same way that Tears of the Kingdom did. Zelda's abilities are powerful and are so much fun to experiment with, but I'm optimistic in thinking that it won't be as easy to break the game's dungeons as it was in Tears of the Kingdom. For the first half of the dungeon, combat still felt quite difficult. It definitely felt strange to not be able to engage enemies directly, and instead to play a more passive role, spawning echoes and throwing objects at enemies. This all changed though, once Zelda reached the chamber from the reveal trailer, where Link had been taken by the rift. Suthorn Ruins' mini-boss is Link, or rather, a shadowy clone of the Swordsman. This is the final test of your ability to fight with Zelda's basic moves. Link absolutely destroyed most enemies I threw at him, only really succumbing to fire damage from the Ignizol and my trusty P-Hat. The fight picks up pace with a second phase, but with a pot to the head, I beat Link, and picked up the mysterious sword he left behind. This sword unlocks Zelda's second ability on the D-pad, Sword Fighter form, where she'll temporarily take on a ghostly Link form and fight enemies head-on. In her Sword Fighter form, she can jump higher than normal, swing her sword in a horizontal slash or a jumping vertical slash, and, of course, perform a spin attack, as usual by holding B or spinning the control stick and pressing B. This ability is limited to this gauge in the top left, which drains slowly over time. It can be replenished by collecting energy, which seems to float about in the rift, as well as being dropped by enemies in the Stilled World. I didn't find any energy in the Overworld, but you can still use the ability there, just sparingly, by switching it on and off quickly with up on the D-pad. So for those who were concerned about a lack of traditional Zelda combat, here it is. Considering that this is only level 1, it seems that this ability will become more important throughout the game. So I think a good chunk of Echoes of Wisdom's combat will play exactly like a classic top-down Zelda, though you don't have to use Sword Fighter form alone. That's famously dangerous. You can of course spawn echoes before you turn it on, but not during. The use of echoes and bind is locked while Sword Fighter form is active. Using Sword Fighter, Bind and Echoes together, I progressed through the rest of the Suthorn Ruins dungeon. In this way, the mysterious sword functioned exactly like a traditional Zelda item unlocked in a dungeon, given to the player after the mini-boss and used to complete the rest of the dungeon. I wonder if this is just the case for this, the first dungeon, or if classic Zelda item progression has made its return. Eventually, I faced the boss. Seismic Talus. Tri claims that her friends are inside the boss, giving us the task of breaking them out. Tri's friends are somehow inside this glowing purple crystal that moves about its body, and I only realised after the fight that I should have tried using Bind on it, like how Link uses Ultra Hands to fight Flux constructs. Regardless, by sparingly using Sword Fighter form to damage it, Zelda beat her first boss, bringing the demo to a close. Overall, Echoes of Wisdom's opening section is an absolute blast. As of the time of recording this, it's been a few days since I played it, and it's all I can think about. From what we can tell from the trailers, I'd guess that the world opens up to Zelda after this dungeon, allowing her to travel to all corners of Hyrule and investigate their troubles with the rifts. I can't wait. It's very clear that this is 2D Zelda's Breath of the Wild, a game which takes the established conventions of the series and breaks them. However, it does feel like Echoes of Wisdom hasn't quite obliterated the rules in the same way. It's really different and really weird, but at its core it does feel like a true Legend of Zelda game. And if how the game opens is anything to go by, it might be one for the ages. Thank you for watching, and a huge thank you again to Nintendo UK for inviting me to demo this game. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.